Hello, everyone. Welcome to I'm 83% confident this will be useful. So you might be wondering, why 83%? Good news if you are. That's the right kind of question to be asking here. There might be some follow-up questions with that. No, not just why 83%, but what about the other 17? Or why is it not something completely different, like 50%? Or perhaps what would make me even more confident, like 90%? And that's exactly what we're here to discuss. A little bit about me. Hi, I'm Sean Bolton. No relation to any of these other Boltons. These are the three companies that I spent most of my time in the past 3 years. I'm an engineering manager, and I deal with estimations often, like all of you. I love asking questions that unlock new understanding. And today, I want to share with you one of my favorite questions. It actually comes from this book by someone named Annie Duke. And the book is called Thinking in Bets. Annie Duke is an author, a speaker, a decision strategist. She has a PhD in cognitive psychology, and she's a former professional poker player. There's one concept in this book that I really want to pull out in this talk today, and that's the idea of thinking probabilistically. As Annie Duke describes in her book, in poker, you can calculate a percent likelihood of something based on the information that you know, which is always incomplete. In a game like chess, for example, you can see all the pieces on the board, you can see the entire board, you have 100% of the information. In poker, you don't. And that's probabilistic thinking, based on the information you have. You can apply this to many things in life. Today, we're going to apply this to estimations on engineering projects. And the important thing here is that when you apply this probabilistic thinking, you can actually get a little bit better at understanding what some of the unknown is, because you can apply deeper understanding into knowing what the unknown space could contain. So we're going to take this idea and apply it to engineering teams. And it can look something like this. If you were to assign a percent likelihood to delivering this on time, what would it be? So you've probably asked similar versions of this question either on your own projects, on projects you want to work on with others, if you're a manager, to teams that you're managing. There's one little nuanced difference in here. You'll notice that percent.
If you're enjoying this, then Lead Dev's got loads more to offer and there's tons to explore.
So the reason I love Lead Dev so much is they've got such a range of content on so many different topics in the world of engineering, leadership, and management.
So Lead Dev helped a lot on building my own career, right? And it's great to also see how it's helping the new generation as well.
Make sure to sign up and join us at leaddev.com.
There's a different version of this question, which you might also come across. What percent level of confidence do you have in understanding how to build this? So similar thing here, maybe it's a similar kind of question you ask, but we're throwing in this percent piece. And this percentage, this probabilistic thinking, allows you to unlock a conversation about what affects the estimation. And the percent on its own is interesting. It could be really useful to know, for example, your team is 80% confident they can deliver something on time, or 30% confident they can deliver something on time. That's actually really valuable in and of itself. But it's the follow-up questions that you get to ask in this situation that can really allow you to gain clarity into the ambiguous space. And it allows you to go into multiple layers of question asking here. There's something actually kind of subtle that happens when you apply this probabilistic thinking. You've externalized your understanding of the confidence in the estimation. So that means you're no longer exploring or perhaps challenging the person giving the estimation around how competent they might be in being able to understand their own ability to do their work. You've actually pushed this out as something that you can both look at together. Okay, so we think it's 80%. Let's talk about what's in that 80%. Let's talk about what's in that 20% unknown. And it creates a more collaborative conversation where you're not necessarily directly challenging somebody. And you can be on the same side with this. So there's 3 approaches to try in how you might dig a little bit deeper when you get to a probabilistic estimation there. And I'm going to give an example here that we'll use to dig into some of these approaches. So let's say that you want to build a new product page. You ask the team to spec it out with a delivery plan. The team says they're confident they can deliver it next week. You ask this question, if you were to assign a % likelihood, what would it be? They say 80% confident. OK, so you've applied this idea. So one of the ways you could do this is simply asking, what makes you say 80%? You might get an answer back that looks something like, well, we've built these pages kind of before, so I can borrow a lot from that. OK. I mean, we've all heard some version of this. That gave you a little bit more information. That's just the first layer of why. Then you can ask another one. So what's in that 20% that makes you unsure? Well, you might get something like, I'm waiting on final designs. I'm not sure it needs to sign off before making it live. Great. Now you're getting to the golden pieces of information here around what's in that ambiguity. Before we just knew, yeah, I'm pretty sure I can deliver this by end of next week. But now you really know what that ambiguous space contains. And you can imagine by asking multiple whys further on this, you could get to even further clarity. Maybe there's specific people or some part of the design or something like this. You could even get to a point where you could ask, would you revise what the % confidence is on this delivery? Because assuming that you've been able to dig a little bit deeper, you now have more confidence in what's needed to deliver something on time. And again, on this piece, we've externalized what the estimation is about. We're now exploring what this number means. And you're not necessarily directly challenging the people who are providing what the estimation is. And in fact, it becomes much more collaborative in this way. So another version of asking this question is using another hypothetical percentage. So instead of asking directly, why is it 80%, you could say, why isn't it 60? You might get some version of, well, I'm waiting on this, and then I need to connect it to that, and I need to test it with this. And then you can ask further whys to explore more. A third version of this would be a positive shift in %. So what would it take to turn it from 80 to 90? And, well, I'd need to blah, 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 and then you can ask multiple whys to explore more. So 3 different ways that you can take someone's initial percentage estimation and ask some initial follow-ups to dig a little bit deeper. And you might notice that those 3 types of questions actually came up in the beginning of this talk. Perhaps you experienced that it was quite natural, actually, to have a conversation around it. When I said I was 83% confident, these questions sort of naturally followed. So perhaps you could see that actually having this conversation with your team could even go completely unnoticed, but certainly it might seem more comfortable than you might think it to be. One piece of advice that I like to give when using this technique is to keep it fresh in some way. Be choosy about when you want to bring this up. So there's different ways you can phrase the question. The text on the screen was actually, I just used AI to generate different versions of the question. But the reason for this is it helps keep some of the saliency. It doesn't become a rote question that you ask every single time for every single project, for every single estimation, but rather something that you can bring up and ask in different ways with your team. My ask for you is, what % confidence do you have that sharing this method will be useful in the future? My follow-up to that is, what makes you say that particular percentage? In fact, maybe you'll see someone else around today, and you can ask each other during the break, what percentage did you pick, and why? And you can have a little discussion around that. And then I invite you to apply this method, whether it's a current project or an upcoming project. Just pick one and apply it and see how it goes. And that's how you can connect with me or follow me on LinkedIn. I'll share updates about things that I work on. And I would actually love to hear, if you give this a try, how it goes. So feel free to reach out and let me know.